Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I am glad you made it. We have David Piatek here from VA Housing Education with some important news, David. You just talked to me right before we came on that there is a new rule that is being finalized, and it is absolutely going to impact a bunch of people, including veterans, and it's going to change life dramatically. So with that, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to David's channel, VA Housing Education, I suggest you do so. David is solid and a wealth of knowledge. David, thank you again so much for coming on to share this information. Time is of the essence with this type of stuff. So I really appreciate you reaching out and letting me know that this is going on. So please introduce yourself, talk a little bit about VA Housing Education, what you do, and let's dive into this rule that has just been finalized.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jason. Thanks for having me on again. So on the channel, we do a lot of current events around housing, how it affects veterans, finance, and education, so you guys can really maximize your benefits. So one thing that I came across the other day was that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau just finalized its rule on removing medical bills and collections from credit reports, which is huge for everyone, and I think especially for veterans, because Jason, just how we came across to know each other and some of the other folks is that researching your VA disability, going through that process, and guess what? It doesn't take like a day or two for this process to happen. It could take years for that to happen. So you may have to go to see medical doctors throughout that process. And now all of a sudden you have these collections. And not only does it hinder your credit, it also hinders you from another big benefit, which is using your VA home loan and getting home ownership. And so it's been used against people because most of the time too, when you go into these medical situations, it's not like today I chose to get in an accident and I didn't purposely have enough insurance. So, there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Right. It's on its face, it's already big. A lot of times when we hear about different, rules or things or legislation being finalized, being put into effect, sometimes it's not on its face how substantial it is. Right. This is in your face. You automatically know this is a big deal. So when we think about the fact that collection accounts that are medical in nature are going to be removed from these credit bureaus, the first thing that comes to mind, David, is two things. One, when does this actually go into effect? What is the drop dead date or what time frame are we looking at is one. And two, how can I, as a consumer, right? Because we're talking about consumer credit reports, how can I make sure, look, we all are a little bit, I don't know, hesitant that entities are going to get things right. So with my luck,
yeah.
Down the road, I'm still going to have collection accounts on there that shouldn't be on there. So what can I do to make sure that my stuff gets cleaned up with this new rule that's getting finalized? So when is it happening, and what can I do to make sure that mine is cleared up as quickly as possible?
Okay, so they published this on early January, so just last week. It's 60 days from the time it's published in the register, which will be in early March. And to your point, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be resistant to doing this, to update it automatically. And it affects about 15 million Americans currently. And it basically represents about $49 billion in medical bills, which I think is absolutely insane. And so they say, too, that the average, you're going to gain about 20 points by these medical collections falling off. Now, based on my experience, Jason, I feel like it's going to be a lot higher because we have a lot of veterans and consumers that the only negative credit they have on their credit report is medical collections. So they could see huge upswings in their credit report. Now, when this rule goes into effect, I'm sure there's going to be a leeway period that they're going to, hey, we have to get everything removed. But they are in collaboration with the TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian to be able to make that happen. One thing that you can do is have credit monitoring, right? There's plenty of free ones. If you have a credit card or bank account, they normally offer you something. But just be aware, when you give them authorization, they also can see your credit, so they can change like limits on you and stuff like that if things aren't going well. But it's a good way to see if a collection is on there and if it's going to fall off. Now, some of the online companies, right, you have different credit scoring models, may not include medical collections when they publish them to you. And the reason why is because in the last couple of years, medical collections in general, they really don't count them towards your debt, but it does affect your credit score and then the type of loan that you can qualify, right? So that's the important part here. So you can go to annualcreditreport.com. It's free. It's the 3 credit bureaus basically got together. I think it was because of a mandate. They're like, hey, you need to offer this every year, at least once for free to consumers. So you can go there and get it. I wouldn't get it like early March. I would wait at least 60 days or so and then see if it's been updated. If it hasn't been updated, you can go directly to Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion and dispute those accounts to have them removed. Now, I would recommend mailing it in, not doing it online because they give you that option. And just be patient with it while you're going through that process, just so you can get your credit where it needs to be. It's 100% worth it to do it.
Right. Yeah. So, patience, right?
Yeah,
That's the key. Yeah. It's like filing a claim, right? For VA disability. Once you've done your part, you just got to be patient and let it kind of work through.
Yeah.
So, my question now is, and I think I'm in agreement with you. I think that sure, sometimes you might see it depending on it's so nuanced, all of this stuff, because somebody could have 17 medical collections and another person could have one.
Right.
Somebody has one that's for $700 and somebody else has one that's for $700,000 or whatever it is,
100%.
right? So these are going to have different impacts when they get removed from your credit score, driving your score upward at different levels. Now, when it comes to VA home loans and veterans, what impact does the credit score really have with regard to them qualifying, buying, whatever? And what sort of impacts are we going to see by the removal of these types of negative accounts? So obviously they remove it. You said a moment ago that you don't count that as debt to income ratio debt, but it does inhibit the credit score. So by removing that, what sort of, advantageous things can we expect for folks that are, other than great, I'm so happy that it's not on my credit report anymore and I don't have to explain it and write 17 letters, right?
Right.
So, and you could even touch on that. You could touch on the LOE aspect as well.
Yep.
Please.
So Jason, what you're talking about is the VA loan itself, right? You have really 2 types of approvals, and this is like an hour-long conversation. So I'm going to sum it up because I have a whole video on my channel. It's what's called an automated approval, where you put the information in our loan system, it comes back, yeah, you're good to go, right? And then the other is this, it comes back what's called like a refer eligible, meaning that you can still do it, but it has to be done manually. And when you have to do a loan manually, they put restrictions on it, so you don't have as much freedom. So you have to write letters of explanation. You have to provide rental, like 12 months of canceled checks or 24 months of canceled checks for rent. So it makes the loan a lot harder to be able to actually process. Now, estimated, this will help about 22,000 people a year become eligible for home ownership. Right? So that's going to be the average per year people that are currently let's say income qualified, that by having these collections removed are going to be able to be added to the home buying journey. Which for some, that's great. For others, they're like, well, that's more competition that's adding to it. Now, with the VA loan itself, there's technically no minimum credit score per the VA, but they do have requirements for how the makeup of the credit needs to look like, not having lates in the last 12 months. But see, collections count towards that. So with that being removed, and again, it gives you more opportunity to use the VA home loan. The other part's going to be the higher your credit score, the better, the easier, one, it's to access credit, and 2, it's cheaper to access that credit, right? So that's what we always talk about, is that, going into home ownership, for a lot of people, it's whatever story, right? We both own places. It's based on what we wanted to do, and it's up to each individual that's out there. Now, when you look at that, you should be focusing in on credit and budgeting. Really budgeting first, because that's going to lead to having good credit, because you're paying all your bills on time and you're paying everything off on time. And then that credit, it's going to let you get 0% interest credit cards. It's going to help you get the best car loans, right? I see people with like 25% car loans when car loans could be at 6%, right? I think it's like you put yourself in this weird vicious circle. And, to be honest, that, even if you have negative credit, whatever that's to you, it's going to improve in 7 years no matter what, right? Because those negatives fall off, unless it's like a bankruptcy or judgment, that's 10 years. But still, like, at some point, your credit is going to turn around and you can change your life.
Absolutely. No, I'm 100% in agreement. And I think that in addition to this, there's the self-segregating out of opportunity, right? So somebody who may have some substantial medical debt that turned into collections may just think I don't have a snowball's chance of being able to purchase a home, so I'm just not even going to ever think about it. And now all of a sudden, that hurdle has gone. That mind block hurdle is going to be alleviated. Now, I like how you mentioned that having the higher credit score is going to essentially remove some of the steps in the process, makes it smoother, right? The more complicated it becomes, the more steps are involved and the more explanation and all of that stuff. So I love that you talked about that. Now, one thing that I'd like to get a little clarification on, and I think other people might be thinking about it, is sure, it's being removed from my credit report. Does that mean that my debt is just gone? Poof, it's eliminated, or is the debt still there?
So the debt is still there, but so it's kind of a tricky situation. And well, I mean, one, it's positive because it's not on your credit report. Two, is that going to stop the harassment calls? No, right? They're still going to try to collect that money, which also I think it puts it in this weird perspective of like the hospitals not being able to collect that money. So are they going to be looking at insurance harder to be like, can we actually do this? Are you going to be denied services? Now, this is not a conspiracy theory, right? I'm just this is my own thought on this. Is like, what was going to be the actual impact of this? Because some people are for it and others aren't for it. So, but yeah, you're still going to get some, you're going to still get some phone calls.
Yeah. And, it might just speed up the process to the hospital or whatever medical organization, moving straight to a charge off and writing it off on their profit and loss for their taxes and so forth. So it just might expedite that process. And then that just ends it at that point as far as them calling. So I guess time will tell on that. It's just speculation at this point. David, you're always such a pleasure to have on, and you bring so many good tools, ideas, mindsets to the home buying process, refinancing, multi-unit properties, how to increase essentially your wealth. I mean, this is by far the largest asset that the majority of us will ever have is our home. And then if you look into refinancing or anything like that, or leveraging into another home and creating a rental property. There's so many options out there. I know I have you for a limited amount of time. If you could just throw out a little, I don't know, a shameless plug for yourself. throw it out there. Let people know what you can do for them. Give kind of that umbrella of services that you can provide, sir.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I appreciate that, Jason. Yeah, so if you're looking to purchase a property, obviously we can help you across the country. If you're looking to refinance, it's the same thing. And then also we do a lot of consultations for people that, again, if you're a year out from getting into the home ownership, we'll walk you through it today so you know what you're stepping into. Home ownership is a big deal. It's not, you don't do it every day. You may watch this and then you might watch another channel and then you might get the exact opposite information because ironically, Jason, it's funny when clients tell me, they're like, oh, I talked to somebody else and they told me the exact opposite of what you just said. Because we read the VA handbook, right? And we go based on what's in the handbook. So we're not misleading anybody when we're giving advice or information about the program. So that's what we stand behind, is to just be transparent and give you all the information you need to make a decision for you. And that's it. So I appreciate everyone that has reached out, and also people that have reached out, kept to their calendars and schedules. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, looking forward to being on again.
Yeah, outstanding. Thank you so much, David. And to everybody out there, again, if you haven't looked at his YouTube channel, I highly suggest you do so. It is VA Housing Education, and we'll drop that information in the description for you as well. Super solid site, a lot of good information. And look, share it with a friend, share it with your neighbor, share it with your American Legion, your DAV, your Veterans of Foreign Wars, your National Guard unit, whatever it may be. Share the information, because remember, at the end of the day, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time.